Hello, everybody. Jose Rodriguez here. Today, I am taking it easy. I spent some time going out with my wife to do a couple of errands and to look at some of the messages that I get on my YouTube channel, and I found a doozy. In fact, I loved it so much, I asked for his permission to make a video on it and actually relate it to everyone, because not everyone is going to read every one of my comments that I receive. But before I do that, yesterday late, in fact, probably around 12:30, 1 o'clock this morning, I decided to print an image that I found that is so unusual. And I said, you know what, let me give the P800 another chance with my Red River San Gabriel 1.0. And I took, I think it was my next to last 17 by 24 sheet. I fed it using the rear feeder. Took me 2 tries, and I proceeded to print that image on it using wide gap for the platen and thickness of 15. I reduced the time, or expanded the time between lateral passes to a quarter second. So, it's going to take forever, but that supposedly allows the ink to dry faster and therefore maybe reduce the amount of buckling that this paper produces. And it seems to be only on the P800. I don't know why yet. I'm going to try using the front feeder and see if that solves the problem. But it's just tremendous the amount of damage the printhead will then impart onto your print, because it's literally scraping across it. When it does that, once it buckles up, that just closes the distance or the gap between the paper and the printhead nozzle plate that it has to maintain in order to print successfully. I also reduced the ink density to by a factor of 10. And that's basically exactly what I did on the 3880, which allows me to print perfectly on it. Well, I don't have it with me. I threw it out. It was just full of scrapes across. And I said, okay, before I go to bed, I'm going to try it on the 3880 using the same exact settings. And I did a 16 by 20. And check this out. This is the weirdest thing I have ever seen. I think this is in Europe somewhere, and I downloaded this image from a free site. So, Google free photo sites, and you can also find a lot of these interesting images that people just upload. It was very low resolution, so I up-rested in QImage. It's about a 16 by 20, maybe 21, no specific size. But what they did was they actually painted fake walls and dividers and divisions and keystones on the building, as you can see. I don't know what's real and what's not real. These may actually not be real. These are real, I believe. You can see the water stains from water collecting during rain. This is actually a painted window. So it's quite interesting. I love what they did, and it makes for a really, really interesting painting type photograph. This would be great to transform into a oil painting and do it on a good canvas. All right, so yes, I went to bed very late this morning, and at least I was able to produce this and not a single scratch across the surface, not a single buckle. I don't know what's going on with the P800 in this particular paper. 3880 seems to handle it as long as you use those particular settings. If you do not, then you're going to end up with basically the same thing, the same problem, but not as pronounced as I seem to be getting on my P800, which is really sad, and it just makes me, pull the last 3 hairs I got on my head. All right, here is the comment. Hi, Jose. Well, I have just had an experience whereby I was printing this photo, an okay photo, but it had been fiddled with by the owner. He lightened it off a bit too much, and that is how it looked to me on my screen, which is uncalibrated. Anyway, I usually do a print onto not so expensive paper to check to see how it may look, knowing that generally if it turns out okay on that paper, it will look great on a good paper. Laughing out loud. LOL. Anyway, it came out looking like it was overexposed. The whole image had virtually a dull, gray, hazy look about it. Really dull looking, despite there being some bright colors on it. This was using PC Ink's Precision Colors on the R1900. So then I printed it on a die printer, the Epson 1430, using Korean third-party inks. It came out a bit better, but still not as good as I would have thought being a die ink printer. Then I tried the R1900 printer again with a better quality paper. Not much change at all. So I am now thinking this is a crap image, and even with some fiddling in QImage, nothing much has changed. I am using QImage to print okay, so I loaded a better quality paper again. And when I went to print, lo and behold, what I did notice. Yep, you guessed it. I was printing with both the printer controlling color and QImage controlling color. Bugger me, he says. Even though I spent quite a bit of time setting up the printer driver, and yes, I wanted to use the printer driver to control color. I forgot to tell QImage not to control color. Once I fixed that, voila, I got a great print. So now I have made a printer checklist and stuck it on my monitor to make sure that I get all my parameters right instead of wasting paper to find out that I did not set things up correctly. Again, if it were not for you hammering this into us, I may never have worked out why this print was so hazy. Thanks for your work. Well, I thank you for the nice words, and I am happy that you caught yourself making that cardinal mistake that everybody makes, and that is allowing both entities to control or interfere, in this case, with color management or the way color is reproduced onto print. You can only allow one. It's either the printer driver or the editing application. In this case, he was using QImage. I would suggest, if you are on Windows, just go to your devices and printers, find your printer or printers, as in my case, right-click, Preferences, and there turn off color management from the start. And then when you click Apply or OK, that will be the default condition that printer will now, from now on, will operate under. It will operate under no color management. That way you can then, whatever application you use to edit your images, you can go ahead and begin using ICC profiles letting the application control color, such as Photoshop, Lightroom, QImage, and others. And that will prevent you from making that silly mistake where, he forgot that he had told the driver to control color, but did not turn that function off in the QImage UI. And there you get to choose one or the other. You can choose either. QImage also has, as a secondary note or footnote, it has a function for printing profiling charts. Those that you use for the higher end profile producers, such as the X-Rite products that are not the Color Monkey type, but the more expensive ones. And that assures that the charts are printed using the correct handling, okay? And again, that's very important, but that's another subject matter. So thank you for that great story. I hope everybody can profit from this. Again, remember, foremost, if you're getting not quite the correct color match, check your settings. I know it's very embarrassing for all of us to admit that we made a silly mistake. But you know what? Nothing is silly when it comes to printing. Just, brush off and continue printing. Select the correct settings, either the printer driver or the application, but never both. And that should solve any kind of weird, unpredictable off color to occur, assuming everything else is correct. All right. Thank you once again. Please subscribe, share, and like. And until the next time, Happy printing. Don't forget to set your settings correctly. Bye-bye.